Hi, since uploading part 10, where I said I was going to mount the clock frame um, uh, quite low down on the pendulum, or at least 3 or 4 inches down from the support of the pendulum, I've had a change of heart as I started going down that route, and I found I was boxing myself into a real corner that I couldn't get out of. And that's because as we move down the pendulum, so of course the angular displacement increases, and you get down to the bottom and you're moving several inches, and just at that 4 inches it was giving me more trouble than it was worth. So although I said I was going to put that little shelf in that I showed you and put the clock frame on, I've reverted back to putting the frame close to the top of the backboard. It wasn't where I was intended to go, but the problems just weren't worth the amount of hassle, and I can only afford a limited amount of time now to spend on this project, but I do want to finish it so as it's a complete project for YouTube. Made quite a lot of footage of what I did about going down with the pendulum, and I shall still use the bits of that because I've gone through how I've made the various components that I intended to use, and I'm still going to use those components, but they'll be in a different place. Okay, I'll show you the clock. That's the top of the backboard there, and I did get as far as fixing the frame down here. I've put on 3 little bits of studding and mounting it down there, and as I got into so much trouble because the amount of displacement here was just very problematic, and also I had an issue with the pendulum moving this way in and out. So as a result of that, I've reverted to putting the mechanism up there. Again, not without its issues because it wasn't planned, and I wanted to have certain things happening here. It meant I've had to trim a little bit off the pendulum, which I'm not bothered about, but I'll just give it a little nudge. In the last video you saw this little wheel being picked up with a bit of wire. What I'm going to do now is go through my little tap boxes and see if I've got something that's more elegant than a bit of copper wire, but something that I don't have to machine or make anything special. I've got different boxes of junk, and what I try to do is keep sort of copper with copper, and just keep like with like. I've got boxes like this which are what I call my plastic box, and there'll be all of the bits that I just haven't wanted to throw away, so there's plastic and rubber parts in there. And when I'm making something, sometimes something in here will suggest something. That's a bit of guttering, but I could easily warm that up and flatten it and use it in something else, or I can warm it up and shape it. That's the little box that the relay coil came out of, so it just might come in handy one day. I don't even know what that was off, but I say it just might come in handy. That's a box of a jar of car light bulbs, those are the sort of screws you get left over and fittings when you fit a kitchen. So by having a good collection of junk around me, it gives me a lot of inspiration. This is a little thing that might be useful. These are bits from old cameras that I've taken apart, and I'm just going to have a route through there, as I can't see through the back of the camera again, it is difficult, but there might just be some bits there that are useful. And remember, what I'm looking for is something to make a little paw to pick up that 2-second gear wheel. Now look at this, I've gone straight to this. I can't even remember what that would have been out of a 35mm camera, but look at this, it looks as though it could have been made for the job. But what I do like is that little screw mechanism there. By adjusting that will allow the front piece of metal here. Right, just put the camera on the tripod. It looks like this screw, it's tight, so maybe they're not shoulder bolts here. Yes, so then yes, that little screw with shoulders on either side of the head there can be used to move that backwards and forwards. That could be very useful, as I'm particularly interested in having some adjustment, as you saw on with a bit of wire, depending where I move the clock, so the paw either picks up on the top of the tooth or it over travels, etc. That could be a lovely little mechanism just to have something that I can adjust and then lock into place. It's the wrong hand, in as much as I really want it to be going that way, but again, it gives me an idea, even if I just use the that little bolt there, or make something along those lines. But this is why I look at the junk, because, as I say, the material suggests things to me. Okay, I don't think I can do all of this in front of the camera, but let's say, oh, that's the getting scratched. It's a first surface mirror and the lens there. So there might be some useful bits on there, I don't know, but again, just looking at mechanisms and getting somebody else's idea and see how somebody made a mechanism very often inspires me to look at something else. I guess that was a winding mechanism, little ball bearings in there. So something I meant to say, I had a comment to say that computer hard drives are a good source of bearings. They also go on to say watch the magnets, because you know, you get these magnets come together and pinch your fingers. These are other small containers of little bits and pieces, and I've probably got stuff like bits out of video recorders, old VHS video recorders in there. An escapee. So there seems to be a bit of a mixture of things there, because there's actually some bits of camera parts that have migrated into there, so they're in the wrong compartment. That is the wheel off a cigarette lighter. So undo that and you get the flint. So although I don't want that on the
this project, it could be a source of inspiration for something else. Yes, there's all sorts of possibles. I think what I really want to get you into the notion of is I will find something that I can use rather than actually make something. Let's say I'm encouraged to keep like with like, and that's Sophie's influence, and I got to admit she's right. It does work for me, as if I think I want something that looks like a clock part, and then I can go to the clock box, or if I want something that I think might have been a camera part, it just helps me to know where things are. So look at these bits. I'd never mess about making something like that, but it's got a little threaded hole there. I bet I've got a screw right size there. Yeah, a bit long and countersunk, but there's probably another little screw there, and then this hole here is threaded, so somewhere there's probably a little screw that will go in there. So that's it's got something that can be adjusted and then locked. That looks useful. When it comes to the hips toddle, there's little bits that look like that. So again, even if I don't use these parts, there are inspiration in them. Look at this. Would I bother making something like that, like a little journal? You know, I have trouble seeing the threads in there, but you know, I've got the screws that I took out of this old camera many years ago, and say it's all inspiration. Treasure. This is the contents of another little jar and diode. This is this little spring that's in the wrong jar, but that's out of a video recorder, of the VHS video recorder, and quite a few of these bits. That's a video recorder part. And that again is another little camera or projector part, but that's a bit off an optical pyrometer. I can't remember what that was out of, but it's a ready-made set of gears. A little miniature contact set if I wanted it. Again, VCR stuff. As is that. So I still haven't found exactly what I'm looking for yet, but I'm getting some ideas. I'm thinking I might use this bit. I might take this bit off the back, and then I'll chop this off, I'll drill it off and have a little pivot there, and then that'll be fixed on the pendulum on the back, and then through this hole there I'll put a little device down that I don't know, I'm trying to work around the light and the tripod. There's something that goes through it, and that'll swing, that'll be on the pendulum, and then I've got something that I can adjust. And if I do want to have something, as I mentioned before, to lift the claw up, or the paw, I could have something that as it gets so far it could then hit that, which is I hadn't I wouldn't have made anything this shape, although I'd got something this shape in my mind. But so anyway, that's what I'm thinking, but as you know, it could change.